welcome to my channel. This is a space I decided to make after quite a few people asked me to show them how to make one recipe or another when I would post my food photos. And it's not really something I mind doing. It's something I would mind doing, like the exact same recipe over and over again. So I'm just like, all right, let me make a channel so y'all can see it and I don't have to do this again because I'm lazy. But yeah, so basically this channel is supposed to be because I'm Guyanese and my friends who like keep asking me for recipes and like how to make stuff are also Guyanese. It's just this thing with our culture where anytime you'd ask your parent, like your mommy or your auntie or somebody, how to make something, or like for a recipe, like an actual recipe for something, they'd be like, yeah, just a pinch of this, a handful of that. It's like, that is not a recipe. That is very vague instructions to get in food poisoning. But yeah, so I moved out from like living with my parents about 2 years ago, and that's when I finally I had to learn how to cook because like mommy wasn't there to feed me and I do like being alive, so I had to manage somehow. But I guess this way at least y'all have somebody to help you, which is always nice, and I would be happy to share the tips and tricks I've learned over the years and just like the easier ways to do things so it's not as like stressful for you, also in a way that you can actually learn how to do it yourself. So yeah, this first episode is that what you call them, episodes? I don't know, I'm too old for this. Yeah, this first episode is just gonna be me talking about basic kitchen equipment. I'm not even sure if you call them equipment, just like essential kitchen items, things I think are essential, or at least are essential in the way that I like to make things. So it's just like certain pots and pans, and kitchen utensils that I think you need at least one of in order to like make it easier on yourself or you and your partner, whoever you're cooking with, just to make it easier and to be able to like follow along with the recipes I'm going to be doing. And I do have a list, which is why I'm kind of like looking down sometimes because I don't want to forget anything, and even if I do forget something it might come up in like a later video. I'm trying not to make this one too long. Okay, so just a kind of disclaimer, these are obviously subject to personal preference and also your budget. Please don't go out and buy these things just because I say, yeah, it makes your life easier in the kitchen and you end up don't paying your phone bill or something. Please just, if you have the budget to buy them, that's great, or if you already have them, that's even better. But yeah, so in terms of pots and pans, and I'm gonna try to, is it like if you superimpose an image on top of the video, because I'm too lazy to go actually pull the stuff out of the kitchen and show y'all. So I think the first thing really important, you need a stew pot. So that would be a pot that's like bigger, but a stew pot with a cover, because most of the things you'll be making like stews and stuff, you do need a cover. And it's really helpful if your stew pot, like the cover fits multiple pots, especially if the other ones don't come with covers. There is also a wok. I think it's really important to, especially when you're making fried rice, chow mein, literally anything that you're frying, or not even frying, like sauteing, you need a wok. The one I have is the same brand as my stew pot, so the cover for the stew pot, so the stew pot came with the cover, also fits on the wok, which is nice. So like I get to cover stuff when I'm done with it, if I'm not using the stew pot, obviously. a frying pot, and yes, I'm saying pot, not pan. You also need a frying pan, that's later on the list. But a frying pot is kind of like, so remember the stew pot's kind of like deep and it's also wide, but the bottom's flat. The bottom's curved. A frying pot would be kind of like the stew pot, but instead of, because usually you'd get some really nice stew pots that are non-stick, but the frying pot gets stainless steel because oil ends up staining your pots after a while, and you have to like do a deep scrub. Also, like the temperatures that you'd be cooking stuff in when you're using a frying pot, it's not good for non-stick, so you do need stainless steel. Yeah, but the same size as stew pot, depending on like how many people are in your household and also like how often you think you'd personally use it. Yeah, a frying pan, which I do prefer non-stick. It's a lot easier, like to clean up, but also the actual cooking itself is so much easier when stuff doesn't actually like stick to the bottom. A saucepan, so kind of the same shape as the stew pot, but smaller. This will obviously if you're heating up sauces or you're kind of just making a small amount or something. But yeah, just a smaller. It could be stainless steel too. I think that's good. You'd also need, and this is important because I'm going to be attempting to show you all how to make roti, a tawa or just a pan that's flat enough to make roti in. Okay, in terms of baking stuff, because we will be baking some stuff as well, a baking sheet or a cookie sheet, these are both the same thing. Flat, wide, and long. Doesn't matter if it's stainless steel or non-stick, whatever your preference is. A baking tray, so like a baking dish, but it's kind of like rectangular, the shape, but also it's deep, because this for if you're baking like chicken or anything, because or chicken or lasagna, anything like that, you don't want you can't use like a shallow pan for it, obviously. And these you can get glass or non-stick. I personally prefer glass because I find a non-stick baking stuff kind of rusts. If you don't take care of it properly, they're really easy to like rust. And a square pan, also a square baking dish. This is also like the one, like the rectangular one. I prefer Pyrex, so I got a couple of those. And a pizza pan. And I think that's it for like the baking stuff. In terms of utensils, so you need a belna or a rolling pin. A dabu. I legitimately could not remember the word for this, like the English word. The dipping scoop thing that is used to take out soup. I don't know, I just call it the dabu. A regular pot spoon, so stainless steel, just a regular spoon. And you need like a non-stick version of this also for your non-stick pots and pans. Not really a non-stick spoon itself. The spoon would be silicone, but like one that's specifically for, because you can't use metal things or anything that would scratch, anything that's too abrasive in your non-stick, because that's how you scratch them, and once they're scratched, it's like that, it's not non-stick anymore. Slatted spoon, so a spoon, and I see lots of people like the big flat ones, but like I just like a regular spoon size with the slats in between. That's for if you're frying stuff and taking it out. So this wouldn't be silicone, this would be stainless steel again. Spatula, I prefer silicone because you can use that in either stainless steel or non-stick, but I usually use it for this non-stick like frying pans. Some tongs, not the panty, the clippy things. Some non-stick and some regular ones, so ones with like a silicone top and just the regular stainless steel ones. So that, and in terms of like bowls and stuff, you need like as many basins as you can get. I just buy them from Dollar Store because it's really cheap and you just needed to like separate the ingredients sometimes. Not even some, most of the time you need to just separate the ingredients. So wherever you can get them from cheap. But I recommend getting at least one decent, like really good quality mix-in bowl. So this will be a big size basin with, see if you can get the ones with silicone underneath. So like the bottom part that touches the countertop would be silicone, so that like when you're mixing and stuff it wouldn't budge, it wouldn't shift, which is nice, but also it wouldn't like scratch anything that it's on, so that's always nice. Strainer, what's the English word? Colander, I think, maybe. Grater, so a regular one, like the regular one with like 4 sides, and one that's specific for spices. So I think the one I bought was, I think they call it like a zester because you use it for like the orange peel, the orange zest, and it works perfectly for spices, because when you use the 4-sided one for spices like nutmeg or cinnamon or anything like that, it ends up like wherever you grate ends up stuck on the other side, like the opposite side inside the grater, and then you can't really get it out. But once it's, if it's just the one thing that has to pass through, it goes through no problem. Some cutting boards, again I recommend ones that you have like little silicone tabs on the 4 ends, just so it doesn't shift too much when you're cutting things, because you don't want that. And some measuring cups, just get like a basic set of measuring cups, measuring spoons, and the kind of jugs, so either glass or plastic. The ones I have are plastic because I find the glass ones are kind of heavy to work with, and also I'm like scared because I have cats. I feel like they would knock them off like the countertop and that's it. But yeah, also some like storage things. I recommend getting an oil tin. See if you can, oil tin is like a container that you store used like oil that you've used to fry stuff, so you don't really have to keep it in the oil pot all the time. So just get an oil tin. You would strain it. Some of them, or actually most of them, should come with like a built-in strainer, a cover, and also like a rest that you put the container itself in, so the oil, because obviously this oil is gonna like end up outside the container at some point, so it doesn't like leak onto the countertops or anything. Some Ziploc, some foil, some Tupperware, Bounty. When I say Bounty, I don't mean, what's that fucking brand? I can't even remember the other brand's name, like the off brand. I mean Bounty, because yeah, it's a little more expensive, but especially when you wet it to like cover the roti, the loy, and you're waiting for it to rise or anything, you don't want it like breaking up into little pieces when you're pulling it off the roti. That would not be good. But also, if you get like the other brands, you'd have to use like 2 or 3 times as much to get the same kind of quality of like clean, because I used to clean instead of like a cloth, especially for my kitchen, because I don't like reusing the same kind of germy cloth all the time, especially because that's where I make my food. And a spray bottle and a concentrated cleaner. So I think it is at Lysol that has like a big ass bottle, okay, bigger than that, about this size, and it's just cleaner that you mix with water, and to like clean all the surfaces. It comes in like a bunch of scents. Get one of those, and the spray bottle, mix like a batch. I have one of the big bottles of Lysol I've been using for like the past 2 years, and it's probably not even halfway yet. So instead of buying the ready mix spray, you can save so much money. Just buy one of the concentrated cleaning things, a spray bottle from like Dollar Store or something, and mix your own cleaners. And that works really well for especially like kitchen surfaces. So in terms of like pantry staples, rice, or I guess some people use like rice substitutes, or I don't know, your preferred kind. White or brown. I like white rice, but whichever. Some all-purpose flour, white and brown sugar, coconut milk. I prefer like the tins of coconut milk that you get, whatever brand is fine. Chinese sauce, which if you're not living in Guyana, you could just find it like one of the West Indian stores. Chow mein, and when I say chow mein, I had a bacchus or imam. If you boil the chow mein and you go to strain it and it is looking like somebody pee who got a UTI, then is not the right, like it's not completely like in a fake yellow. You got the wrong brand of chow mein. It's not Guyanese chow mein. I don't know what is put in this thing, like the amount of color in that the water does come out yellow and then the chow main's still yellow, but yeah. Pasta of choice, so like your macaroni, whatever kind of macaroni, like fusilli, rotini, penne, whatever. Like I just make most of them, unless you're making a specific dish, you just fry them up the same way. Eggs, butter, oil, some fresh garlic, shallot, green onion, or green onion, whatever it's called, onion, and all. Oh, something else that you put. So I have this. I got this from Dollarama. It's like a glass container with like a wooden top, a wooden lid with like a rubber seal. I use that for my seasoning that I grind, and it's really good at keeping it like fresh, especially because the bottom part that the seasoning actually touches is glass, so it doesn't spoil very easily, and it doesn't like leave it smelling like seasoning. That's good because you get to make the seasoning like whenever you cook, like the first meal of the week, I guess, and you can use it for the rest of the week, no problem, if you store it properly. And then always keep some meat or meat substitute, whatever you cook with. I like to keep a couple pieces of chicken. I prefer like bone-in chicken, so bone-in thighs and like some beef, and that's it. But it's always nice, it's always good to like keep a few different like kinds of cuts in your fridge or freezer. In terms of spices, salt, black pepper, buy some fresh pepper, Scotch bonnet, whatever kind, like the hot pepper. Grind it if you got like a food processor, which is another thing I think is really helpful because I hate chopping things. I hate chopping seasoning with a passion. I am tired. I'm too old for this. I got stuff to do. I just got a small food processor that is chopped seasoning, and that's it. But yeah, chop up some fresh peppers and freeze it. Put it in a Ziploc and freeze it. So especially if you don't eat a lot of pepper, eat pepper with food, and you just use it to cook with, that's good because you can just go in the freezer and take out like how much ever you want and just put it in the pot, and it's really good. It keeps it fresh. Some AGI, so that's MSG, monosodium glutamate. Is that how you say it? Monosodium glutamate? Why does that sound wrong? MSG, whatever you call it. Curry powder. I like, is it Indie? Yeah, I like Indie curry powders. That's like my brand, but whichever. Some jeera, some garam masala, powdered garlic, and I know I said you need like fresh garlic, but powdered, oh my god, so few words. Powdered garlic is good for different uses, because especially if you're making like mashed potatoes or something, you don't want to put fresh garlic because it has like this weird, you actually taste the garlic and you can taste that it's uncooked and it doesn't taste nice. So then you just use powdered garlic, which is good. Powdered onion, some thyme, it could be fresh dried or frozen. I feel like there's something, so cinnamon sticks, not the ground cinnamon, because the ground cinnamon ain't got taste by the time you get it. It's like really weak and you have to use so much more of it. So get some cinnamon sticks, you can grate it, it's fine. Nutmeg, So again, not the ground nutmeg, get the whole nutmeg that you crack open and you get the actual nutmeg inside. And just get like some little jars and keep them, and they keep really well. And they last a long time, but also you can actually taste them when you put them in stuff. And some cloves. And again, not ground cloves, just regular whole cloves. Essence. So I had a mixer. I like mixed and I like almond, both of them are fine. I'd recommend a non-slip mat. The one I have is really good. It's just that I have 2 cats, and as soon as I fix it, they would go and like pull it up. I don't know how, but they managed to just ruin it. A stool, really helpful, especially if you have issues standing for a long time. Some kitchen towels and an apron. I think that's it for essential things. I think actually I was gonna make this episode really short, but it looks like it might be on the long side. But yeah, because I'm mostly just talking about stuff you needed or stuff it would be good to have in your kitchen, and how you pick your ingredients, that kind of thing. Before I actually get into the recipes, because I can't do this for every single recipe. So just like a basic thing for the first episode. When you're buying ingredients, it's really important to figure out what you're gonna make with it first before you buy it. And I mean this because I've had to throw away some vegetables because I bought it because I was like, yeah, I feel like eating some cabbage, and then not knowing how I want the cabbage, and then it's still there like 2 weeks later, just staring at you and looking sad in the fridge. So yeah, some things to keep in mind when you're picking your vegetables, your fruits or vegetables, is how ripe is it, like when you pick it up in the store. How long from when you pick it up in the store you're going to use it, or you plan to use it, and how ripe it's going to be then. So you need to like, obviously it won't be like a perfect like estimate, but just estimate how ripe you think it's going to be, and if that's the ripeness you want it to be when you're ready to cook it. Otherwise you can just save it for the next grocery run. Don't buy it if you know it's not going to be in a good state when you're ready to use it. Freshness, same thing. Buy enough. Don't buy extra. Calculate based on how many people in your household, how many people you plan on feeding, what you're making with it, and what you could possibly make with the leftover raw ingredients, because otherwise you can just end up wasting a bunch of food. Ooh, yes, and a lot of times a lot of places have like just maybe like half a cabbage, half a pumpkin, or a piece of pumpkin instead of like the entire thing, because I know anybody who can eat an entire pumpkin. Just buy a piece of pumpkin or a piece of whatever. They just got them selling. Ooh, meal plan. So an important part of this is just keeping a record of what you buy and what you have and when you bought them. And for me, I have like this magnetic kind of dry erase board stuck on the fridge, and that's where I write down all of this. And it's really helpful to actually see what you have in the fridge without having to like go through every single shelf. But also I use it for the fresh ingredients, so like vegetables, fruits, things that would go bad if I didn't like monitor them. And it's really helpful. Also, meal plan. So, and I don't mean this, you don't have to plan out like every single meal, like 3 meals a day for the entire week and what you're going to make and all that. What I do is I figure out what I feel like eating for the week. So it'd be like 4 or 5 different recipes. put those on the board, and so I get the ingredients for those whenever I go do groceries. And it doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be the order you write in, because sometimes I change my mind. I want to eat one of the things that I have later down in the list, like early in the week. So I just leave some room for flexibility. At least then you have the ingredients, and you don't like mess up your entire plan if you make one of the meals earlier. Prep and storage. Okay. Yes, I have lots of notes. So seasoning is something, like I said, you could prepare beforehand, which is really helpful, especially when you're working during the week and you want to like just make a quick meal. Like, so you don't have to prep it. If you like chop it up, like whatever season you prefer, because some people don't like onions. I recommend not putting onions in like your mixed seasoning that you keep in the fridge, because it makes your seasoning go bad faster, which is not good. Like if you want onion in something that you're making any day after, you can just chop it up and put some in, but don't mix it in with the rest of the seasoning. Meat you can prep a night before or the day before, which is really helpful, especially if you're on a tight schedule. Just prep it, and it's really good. It tastes way better when you leave it to marinate too. So roti loy. When we finally learn to make roti, when I teach all to make roti, the loy, that's kind of the dough that's like halfway through the process of making roti. You can keep those in the fridge. They keep really well for a couple days. So that's basically the most time consuming part done. So you just keep a couple in the fridge and you just roll it out when you're ready and make it. Freeze things. So if you do end up with too many like raw ingredients, too much something or the other, just take out what you would use and freeze the rest. Your freezer is your best friend. Put like anything that's fresh and you want to keep it like fresh for a little bit, you don't know what to do with it yet, just put it in the freezer. Oh yeah, this also, if you like prepare too many like raw ingredients, if you already like chop it up or something, put it in the freezer, even if you're gonna use it like soon, because from the time you start like preparing ingredients, like you're holding it to chop it and everything, it will spoil faster. So just keep it in the freezer to keep it a little bit fresh. And I think that's one of the last things. Is it? Oh my god, no, there's another page. Clean as you go. I know this is like stressful, because at least for me, like, yeah, at least for me, like growing up, my mom would always be like just really stressed in the kitchen, just trying to do everything at once. And I'm lazy, but also I'm fortunate enough that I don't have kids to feed, and so I can afford to take my time. Like if I plan, I could take my time and cook, so it's not really a stressful activity for me. I actually really enjoy cooking. So yeah, when I say clean as you go, so say you're cooking some baked chicken, you prep the chicken the night before, you clean up that mess. That's like a quarter of the mess already cleaned. You just put the chicken in the pan and that's it. Whatever you're making with the chicken, or if it, let's just say it's just the chicken, you put the chicken in the oven. Don't stand there on your phone for the entire 40 minutes that you're waiting for the chicken to bake. Just soak the pan, soak the bowl that you marinated the chicken in, soak or wash or load the dishwasher, whatever, with the rest of the wares. And so by the time chicken finish, you'd either be finished, like completely finished cleaning, or you just have like a couple pieces left. And then I recommend eating food is like when it's ready. Don't wait until you clean up to eat your food. The dishes can wait an extra 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, like 20 minutes, however long you eat. But yeah, they can wait a little bit. They ain't going nowhere. And just clean as you go. yeah, so especially if you cooking stuff on the stovetop, soak your pans, put some soap. So I usually keep like one of the big bottles of like soap. Just put some soap inside, soak it with hot water. That's always important, especially if it's stuff that's kind of um, stuck and you know it's gonna get hard. Soak it with some hot water and soap. Mm. Ooh, also when you're making stuff on the counter and you're making stuff with flour, especially if the flour kind of got wet, um, do not let it sit. Do not, do not let it sit unless you plan on like fighting with it later. I recommend getting a dough scraper. What it is like literally what it sounds like. So you can use it to measure because it has like measurements on it. But I also use it like when I make a roti to like cut the pieces. So they're like even. Also, what I really like it for is when you're finished and you want to like clean up, that actually gets like the stuck on floury bits that stick to the counter. And that's it. So yeah, let's say you're prepping something on one specific counter and you finish like prepping everything, you're just actually cooking the things now. Make sure you, yeah, once you finish like using the specific counter, make sure you clean that one counter so that one's done. That's one less counter you have to clean like by the time you finish cooking. Yeah, so in terms of cleanliness and sanitation, if y'all have nails like me, make sure when you're washing your hands, always wash your hands before you start cooking. Make sure you wash underneath your nails. That's really important. And also, if you use your phone while you're cooking, so like say if you're on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, while your thing is cooking on the stove, make sure you also sanitize your phone before and after, and maybe even during when you're cooking if you're like using it in between, because your phone holds a lot of germs and you don't want that getting into your food. Avoid cross-contamination. So I usually like it because I'm lazy. I keep saying this, I'm lazy. I don't like extra work. If you are cooking something like veggies or non-meat, anything that's not meat, I would use one cutting board for those. Do that first, and then if I'm adding meat to whatever I'm making, I would use the same cutting board but cut up the meat after. Do the veggies first on the board, that way I just use one cutting board, and that's just one cutting board that I have to clean up. And I might get some heat for this. I do not apologize. Don't wash your meat. Do not. I cannot say this enough. And I would get up to go show you an experiment, but you can try and do this. So if it's more than one of you in the house, get one of y'all to hold like a piece of tissue, bounty, a couple of sheets, whatever, at the side of the sink, so just at the edge of the sink, and the other person would wash their hands. When you're finished, check and see how much. Not wash your hands in a way that you're kind of like splashing water all over on purpose. Just wash your hands normally, and then at the end of this, check and see how wet that towel is, and that's how much salmonella you're spraying all over the place when you wash your meat in the sink. Like you might not even see it because you don't usually like look for the little splatters, but it goes everywhere. And the point about cooking, especially meat, the reason we cook meat is to get rid of the same things you're trying to wash away. So all the bacteria, whatever, that is what heat is for. The heat kills it. Washing meat, you just end up with bacteria all over your kitchen, which is worse. Ooh, also, this is a really important one, and I had to like fight myself to stop doing this. Especially if you have like a bigger container, because I have a bigger container with salt, and I used to put my entire hand inside to take salt out, which I guess is convenient for me, not very sanitary. So use spoons when you're taking out anything from a bigger container. Use a spoon, a cup, a bowl, anything. Just don't put your entire hand, or even like just even if you just need a pinch of salt, just go get a spoon, please. Oh, also there's like kind of storage thing too. Make sure your hands are dry when you're taking out dry ingredients. Even if you like just washed it, make sure you dry it properly, because if moisture gets into some of these things, they don't keep as well, or they go bad like completely. So not good. And I think that's it. I think that is actually it. Yeah, I think that's all the important bits. Just I say, when you're cooking, don't, you know how on those cooking shows people always look stressed, like because there's like a time crunch. You don't need to live like this. You're not winning any money if you like finish it in like half an hour. Relax, plan when you're going to cook so you have time for it. Put on some music, listen to a podcast, an ebook, call your friends, something. Just if you look at cooking as something that's stressful, then it will be stressful for you. If you look at it as something like an hour, a couple hours where you get to listen to music, you get to listen to a new book, something that's enjoyable, then it's going to be enjoyable. You just need to like figure out what you want to do in that time, because there's a lot you can do while you're cooking. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, did I tell you guys to taste your season? No, I don't think so. Yes. You know what salt tastes like? Most of us know what salt tastes like. Taste your black pepper, taste your pepper, your paprika, your powdered garlic and onion, because some of them have a different taste, but also depending on the brand that you're using, some of them would actually taste different because the concentration is different and just how they produce the end product is different. So it's, especially when you're changing brands, taste, just take a little bit or sprinkle a little bit in your hand, taste it, just so you know what you're adding to the food, because like a recipe might say a teaspoon of garlic, something like powdered garlic, but you know after tasting your garlic it's not that strong, so you'd have to add like 2 teaspoons or almost a tablespoon just to get the same like strength of garlicky taste in your food. But yeah, that's it. I don't know what to do at this point. What are we supposed to? I look forward to working with you. Why does it sound like I'm doing a job interview? But yeah, we're gonna try and do this. We're trying. I believe in you. We can do this. So I guess with that, welcome. And I named the channel Kangalang Kitchen because I don't know what else to name it, because I can't say I'm that confident of a person in the kitchen, but we can try. We're trying. Yeah, so welcome to Kangalang Kitchen. I think for this first part I'm just gonna make some sago, because I feel like drinking some sago porridge, and that's it, because it's also really quick and easy. At least to give you something to start out with. But yes, welcome.